Everyone speaks about overnight success as if it were a spark that ignites suddenly, a fire that burns instantly bright. They look at fortune, influence and empire and imagine it all appeared in a single stroke of luck. They believe there was some secret door that opened one evening, and by morning everything was transformed. But the truth is different. The truth is that nothing great is built in a night. What looks like sudden triumph is only the visible part of years of quiet preparation, invisible labor, and decisions made when no one was watching. People see the mountain peak, but they ignore the endless climb that came before it. Consider this. Every empire rests on foundations. No one applauds, bricks laid in silence, sacrifices unnoticed, choices that demand patience so deep it feels almost unbearable. Those who seek quick victories are often left disappointed, for what is built too fast collapses just as quickly. But those who endure, who discipline their ambition and train their mind to remain steady when results are slow, they are the ones who build legacies. They are the ones who stand firm when others crumble. Overnight success is a story told by spectators, not by those who built it. Spectators see the final result and mistake it for the beginning. They say fortune found him. They say he was born into it. They whisper about chance, timing, destiny. But the one who built it knows the reality. It was carved out day after day, deal after deal, brick after brick. The hours were long, the doubts were constant, the failures were many. Yet none of that shows on the surface, and so the myth persists. Imagine two men planting seeds. One waters the ground daily, patiently, watching the soil, waiting for the first signs of growth. The other grows impatient, digging up his seeds to check if they are sprouting. Which harvest will last? The impatient man abandons his work long before results appear, while the patient cultivator wakes one morning to find a field ready to bear fruit. This is the truth about success. It comes not to those who demand it quickly, but to those who can wait longer than others, who can endure discomfort, who can walk steadily while others rush ahead and tire. There is a power in patience that most never discover. In a world obsessed with speed, with shortcuts, with appearing successful before actually being successful, patience is rare, yet it is patience that multiplies effort into greatness. The work of one day is insignificant. The work of 10,000 days shapes empires. Each decision compounds. Each sacrifice layers upon the last. The crowd may not see it, but the results make themselves undeniable in time. Discipline is the hidden face of fortune. Without discipline, ambition burns out quickly, consumed by distractions and fleeting pleasure. Those who achieve real success understand this truth. Every indulgence resisted, every unnecessary expense avoided, every hour used wisely is an investment that grows silently. Wealth is not created by chance. Influence is not given freely. Both are the rewards of restraint and foresight, and only those willing to govern themselves are fit to govern more. People imagine that control over markets, industries, or wealth is the highest form of power, but before any of that, there must be control over self. To wake early when comfort calls you back to bed, to walk away from temptations that promise momentary pleasure at the cost of future security, to remain steady when profits are uncertain and criticism is relentless. These choices appear small in the moment, but they are what build enduring strength. Every fortune, every empire, every story of great achievement begins not with celebration, but with sacrifice, with years of obscurity, with decisions that bring no immediate reward, with endless stretches of work that no one applauds. Success is not the moment of recognition. It is the hidden preparation that makes recognition inevitable. Those who understand this truth no longer seek the illusion of overnight. They understand that greatness comes quietly, then all at once. And when the world finally notices, when the newspapers write their headlines, when the public gasps at the scale of it all, they will call it sudden, effortless, inevitable. But you will know it was not the night that mattered, but the countless days before it. You will know that overnight success is nothing more than the slow, deliberate work of years finally becoming visible, and you will smile, because the truth was never meant for the crowd. It was meant for those who had the patience to endure it. They say fortune smiles suddenly, that opportunity knocks once and only the quick, or the lucky receive it. But opportunity is never sudden. It is prepared. It waits for those who have sharpened their tools, trained their minds, and disciplined their habits long before the moment arrives. Most people pray for luck, yet squander the small chances that come daily. They waste time, they waste energy, they waste the little resources in their hands. Then when a great chance appears, they are unready to seize it. They call it bad luck, but it is not luck at all. It is neglect. The ones who rise, who take hold of opportunity, are those who have already prepared themselves in silence. They did not know when the door would open, but they lived each day as if it might. When the moment arrived, they did not scramble, they did not hesitate, they did not doubt, they acted. And because they acted with readiness, the world mistook it for fortune. They called it overnight success, but the truth was years of invisible preparation. Most men chase the appearance of success rather than its substance. They dress as if wealthy while drowning in debt. They talk loudly of great plans while never putting in the quiet hours to make them real. They crave applause before they have built anything worth applauding, and so they are fooled by those who rise in silence. They cannot understand how one day a man unnoticed becomes a man unavoidable. They assume there must have been some secret advantage, some invisible hand pulling the strings, but the only hand was discipline. The only secret was patience. Consider the mason building a wall. Each day he lays brick upon brick. Each brick looks insignificant, unimpressive, hardly worthy of praise. But day after day the wall grows higher, until one morning it towers above the rest. To the passerby it looks as if it appeared overnight, yet the mason knows the truth. Each brick was laid while no one cared to watch. Success is no different. The bricks are decisions, habits, sacrifices. They appear trivial, but over time they create something massive, undeniable, and enduring. The temptation of the world is to abandon the wall halfway, to seek shortcuts, to lay bricks carelessly so progress appears faster. But those shortcuts weaken the foundation, and when pressure comes, the wall collapses. Many fall this way. They appear successful for a season, celebrated briefly, envied by those who crave quick riches. But because their foundation was hollow, time exposes them. Fortune built in haste disappears in haste. Fortune built in discipline endures. The crowd admires bold gestures, dramatic risks, stories of sudden wealth. But the wise understand that boldness without discipline is recklessness, and recklessness destroys more than it creates. True strength is in quiet restraint. To wait when others rush, to hold when others panic, to build slowly when others chase speed. This kind of strength is invisible until its results stand tall, unshaken by storms that destroy the rest. Think of the storms life sends: economic collapse, fierce competition, betrayal, sudden losses. Those who built on haste collapse with the storm. They cry that life was unfair, that fate betrayed them. But those who prepared, who built brick by brick, who cultivated patience, they do not fall, they bend but do not break. Their foundations run too deep, their roots too strong, and when the storm passes, they remain standing, stronger than before. Overnight success is the myth of the impatient. The truth belongs to those who can endure obscurity, who can labor without applause, who can keep their vision fixed when no one else believes. Success comes to those who have the courage to wait longer than others, to persist beyond doubt, to hold steady when every voice says quit. It is not fortune that lifts them, it is endurance. Most men are unwilling to pay the price. They want comfort now, recognition now, reward now. They cannot endure years of quiet labor. They cannot resist the urge to show off small gains instead of building great ones. And so they remain trapped in mediocrity, chasing shadows of success, while the disciplined few create substance. The disciplined few become the ones others call lucky, but luck had nothing to do with it. There is no secret formula, no mysterious charm. There is only work repeated so long it becomes invisible. There is only patience stretched so far it feels like sacrifice. There is only restraint practiced so often it feels like strength. And when the world finally notices, when the headlines speak, when the masses gasp, it will look like it happened overnight, but it never did. It could not. The night was only the unveiling of what had been built for years. So remember this. The truth about overnight success is that it belongs only to those who lived every day as preparation, to those who watered their seeds long before the harvest, to those who laid bricks long before the wall was noted, to those who embraced patience while others surrendered to haste. The moment of recognition is only the echo of years unseen. The crowd will never understand, but those who live this truth need no understanding. They hold something greater than applause. They hold endurance, and endurance builds legacy. They look at wealth and believe it must have come from sudden windfalls, as though gold simply appeared from the ground or opportunities dropped into waiting hands. But fortune does not fall, it is extracted, refined, and multiplied. The truth is that wealth is not found in one grand moment, but in the ability to see value where others see nothing, to persist in pursuit when others surrender, and to exercise discipline when others are ruled by greed. The myth of overnight success blinds most men to this. They wait for a miracle instead of preparing themselves to recognize opportunity when it quietly passes by. Opportunity rarely arrives with fanfare. It hides in difficult decisions, in risks that look too small to matter, in industries that others dismiss. Most people do not miss opportunity because it was absent. They miss it because it came dressed in work, in sacrifice, in patience. They wanted lightning, but opportunity came as a candle. They wanted instant fortune, but it came as a door that only opened to steady hands. Those who can recognize opportunity in its humble form are those who later seem to have achieved miracles. Think of the process of refining oil, crude, dark, and heavy. It appears almost worthless to the untrained eye. Few would see fortune in it. Yet with the right system, with careful patience, that crude becomes fuel, light, power. Success works the same way. To most, the raw material of life looks unremarkable, but to the disciplined, it is a resource waiting to be refined into greatness. The world calls it luck, but in truth, it is vision, the ability to see wealth where others see waste. The crowd always desires shortcuts. They crave the final product, but scorn the refining process. They want wealth without restraint, recognition without preparation, power without responsibility. But nothing enduring is built this way. The refining process is not glamorous. It is dirty, tedious, often lonely. Yet without it, the crude remains crude. Without it, opportunity never matures into empire. To endure that process requires a mind hardened against impatience, a will trained to see the long game, and a character capable of resisting the temptation of immediate pleasure. Overnight success is the reward of those who prepared for years to be ready for one moment. When markets opened, they were already trained. When competitors faltered, they were already steady. When crises came, they were already hardened. Their advantage was invisible until the moment it mattered. Then it appeared as if they had leapt ahead instantly, but in reality they had simply built quietly while others slept. Discipline in small matters creates readiness for great matters. The man who cannot master his expenses cannot master an enterprise. The one who squanders minutes cannot command years. The one who cannot govern himself cannot govern wealth. Fortune comes not to those who demand it, but to those who prove they can be trusted with it. Success is not granted by chance, it is entrusted to the discipline. Critics often say success is unfair, that some are given too much while others are left behind. But the truth is that most men discard their chances without notice. They waste small profits on fleeting pleasures. They reject hard lessons because they sting. They abandon ventures when they require patience. Then, when they see another who endured all these things, they cry unfair. They forget the sacrifices they themselves refused to make. They forget the opportunities they dismissed as beneath them. And they forget that discipline, though silent, compounds louder than any luck. The foundation of fortune is not a single event, but 1,000 decisions, invisible to the crowd, to save when others spend, to work when others rest, to listen when others talk, to delay gratification when every desire demands to be satisfied now. These choices leave no applause in the moment. but in time they create a gulf so wide that others cannot understand how it was formed. They call it sudden, but it was inevitable. Think of the competitor who rises quickly, loudly, with flair. The world admires him for a time, but he burns through his fuel faster than he can replenish it. His foundation is shallow, his habits weak, his vision short. He appears successful until the storm arrives, and then he collapses. The man of patience, however, continues steadily. He is underestimated in the beginning, overlooked in the middle, and undeniable in the end. His success appears overnight, only because he lasted longer than all the rest. This is the paradox. The fastest way to build something lasting is to build it slowly. Every hasty step creates cracks that must later be repaired. Every shortcut costs twice as much in the future, but every steady step strengthens the foundation. Every disciplined choice compounds, and when the years have passed, the man who built slowly appears to have built instantly. The crowd cannot fathom how it happened, because they never learned to measure progress in patience. So understand this: fortune is not sudden. It is the slow, deliberate refining of opportunity into power. It is discipline stretched across years until it becomes unshakable. It is patience, so steady it looks like inevitability. What appears as overnight success is nothing more than the moment when the invisible becomes visible, when the work no one applauded becomes the result no one can deny. And in that moment, the crowd may whisper of luck, but the disciplined will smile, knowing the truth. The night only revealed what the day had built for years. They marvel at the scale of success, yet they rarely ask about the battles fought in silence before the world ever noticed. The path was not smoothed by fortune. It was cut through rock with persistence. Every negotiation, every calculated risk, every disciplined choice became a step. The crowd imagines it was one grand decision, one brilliant stroke that secured an empire. But it was not brilliance in a moment. It was consistency across countless moments. The empire is not the product of luck. It is the accumulation of small victories gained through patience and restraint. Markets are a mirror of human nature. They rise and fall with fear and greed. Most men are slaves to these emotions. They rush when others rush. They panic when others panic. They lose everything because they cannot master themselves. But the few who remain steady, who study the rhythm without being carried away by it, they gain advantage. While others act on impulse, they act on calculation, and because of this they seem almost prophetic, as if they knew the future, yet they knew nothing of the future. They only knew themselves. They knew how to stay calm while others trembled, how to stay patient while others demanded hate. This mastery of self is mistaken for mastery of fortune. Negotiation is another battlefield where character is tested. Most men cannot endure silence. They rush to speak, to prove, to defend. They reveal their weakness in their words, but the one who controls his tongue controls the room. Silence unsettles opponents. Patience exhausts them. Composure bends them. The crowd calls it cleverness, but it is only discipline. It is the willingness to wait longer, to remain unshaken, to refuse the bait of impatience. Great fortunes are not seized with noise. They are secured in silence. The myth of overnight success is born because people only witness the final agreement, the grand merger, the sudden expansion. They see the fruit, but never the sowing. They see the contract signed, but not the years of groundwork that made the signature possible. They call it sudden, but the one who built it knows each step was prepared, each risk calculated, each sacrifice measured. The result was only inevitable to the one who never stopped building. Competition reveals the same truth. The weak chase appearance. They expand recklessly, boast loudly, strike deals without foresight. The strong build foundations. They grow steadily, quietly, preparing long before they move. When the clash comes, the weak collapse under their own noise, while the strong advance without strain. To the crowd it looks like one destroyed the other overnight. In truth, the victory was sealed years earlier, when one chose discipline and the other chose spectacle. Patience in business is no different from patience in life. It is the art of resisting the urge to act before the time is right. A deal struck too soon weakens. A venture rushed too quickly fails. A fortune sought too hastily collapses. Timing is everything, but timing is not luck. Timing belongs to those who wait, who prepare, who endure without losing sight of their vision. The world says, he moved at the perfect moment.
The truth is, he prepared so long that when the moment came, it could not be missed. Wealth itself is not the goal. It is the byproduct of discipline. Those who chase wealth directly are like men chasing shadows. They run faster, but the shadow always escapes them. Those who pursue discipline, patience, and foresight find that wealth follows them instead. They did not need to chase it. They only needed to build the character that attracts it. When the wealth arrives, the crowd imagines it was delivered in a single night. But the truth is, it had been following discipline all along, waiting for the right time to reveal itself. This is why restraint matters more than ambition. Ambition without restraint burns itself out. Restraint without ambition builds nothing. But combined, they create power, power that grows slowly, steadily, until one day it appears unshakable. The world looks and says, it happens suddenly, yet nothing sudden ever lasts. Only what is built patiently can endure. The critics, the doubters, the impatient will always ask for the secret. They want a formula, a shortcut, an answer that will give them tomorrow what others built across decades. But the secret is there is no secret. The secret is unseen labor. The secret is years of sacrifice that no one admired. The secret is preparation that seemed excessive until the moment it was needed, and when it is revealed, the crowd cannot believe it. They prefer the myth of luck because it excuses their own impatience. They prefer the idea of sudden fortune because it absolves them from the discipline they never cultivated. The truth is less glamorous, but far more powerful. Success is never overnight. It is the reflection of years condensed into one visible moment. It is the reward of patience, the fruit of restraint, the harvest of preparation. It is the silence before the noise, the discipline before the applause, the years of obscurity before the sudden recognition. Those who understand this truth no longer envy what appears sudden. They know that everything lasting is slow. They know that what the world calls instant is only the unveiling of what was built in silence long before.
The world admires the surface of success, but resists the sacrifices that built it. They want the mansion without the years of thrift, the empire without the years of obscurity, the recognition without the countless nights of labor. Yet sacrifice is the price written into every enduring fortune. Without it, there can be no foundation strong enough to carry greatness. The myth of overnight success tempts people to believe they can bypass sacrifice, that they can leap to the result without walking through the fire. But the fire cannot be escaped. It is what tempers steel, what hardens resolve, what separates the few who endure from the many who abandon the path. Sacrifice begins in small, invisible choices: to save when others spend, to study when others waste hours, to endure criticism when others chase approval. Each decision looks trivial, but over time it creates distance. The man who sacrifices comfort for discipline grows stronger daily, while the man who indulges himself grows weaker. One day the distance is so great it appears like a sudden leap, as if one man was carried ahead by fortune, but fortune had nothing to do with it. Sacrifice was the force that created the illusion of sudden success. Sacrifice is misunderstood because it is quiet. No crowd applauds when you deny yourself luxury. No one notices when you labor in silence while others celebrate. No one praises the man who chooses discipline over indulgence, restraint over excess, patience over haste. But these quiet sacrifices compound. They build the strength to seize opportunity when it comes. They forge the resilience to survive storms that destroy others. They sharpen the vision to see value where others see waste. Without sacrifice, all of these are impossible. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It lulls men into mediocrity. They choose what feels good now over what builds strength later. They demand reward without cost, applause without effort, and so they remain stagnant, envying those who pass them by. But the one who embraces discomfort, who learns to live with less, who disciplines his body and mind to endure what others avoid, this one becomes unstoppable. While others collapse under the weight of challenges, he has already trained for them. His sacrifices prepared him for storms long before they arrived. Consider the farmer who sets aside seed instead of consuming it. The crowd mocks his restraint, feasts in the present, and laughs at his caution. But when the season turns, the farmer plants what he saved. His fields grow, while those who indulged have nothing left. To the crowd it looks like sudden abundance, but it was nothing more than disciplined sacrifice. The same law governs success in every field. The one who saves energy, resources, and focus builds reserves that can be invested later. The one who spends recklessly is left with nothing. Sacrifice also reveals character. It shows who truly desires greatness and who merely wishes for it. Wishes cost nothing. Discipline costs everything. Many speak of ambition, but few prove it through sacrifice. The proof is not in words, but in what one is willing to give up. To wake before the sun, to deny the easy path, to invest in growth when pleasure calls louder. Every empire is built on this unseen foundation. Without it, ambition is only noise. The myth of overnight success is comforting to those who refuse sacrifice. It allows them to say, "He was lucky, he was chosen, he was favored." It spares them from facing their own lack of discipline. But the truth is sharper. Success is purchased by sacrifice, and the price cannot be avoided. Those unwilling to pay it will never hold what they envy. Those willing to pay it will one day stand in places others cannot imagine, and the crowd will mistake it for sudden fortune. Sacrifice is not about loss, but about exchange. Every pleasure denied, every indulgence resisted, every moment invested is a trade. Comfort is traded for strength, luxury is traded for growth, silence is traded for mastery. The weak see sacrifice as suffering, but the strong see it as investment. They know the return will come, not today, not tomorrow, but inevitably. And when it does, it will look like a miracle to those who never saw the sacrifices that built it. To understand sacrifice is to understand time. Most people overvalue today and undervalue tomorrow. They consume everything now, leaving nothing for the future. The disciplined man values tomorrow more than today. He sacrifices present comfort to secure future power. And when tomorrow arrives, he holds what others cannot. The crowd calls it unfair. They forget that years earlier he made choices they refused to make. Sacrifice always reveals itself, not in words but in results. So let them believe in overnight success if they wish. Let them cling to the myth of luck, of sudden fortune, of mysterious advantage. The truth is far less glamorous but infinitely more powerful. Sacrifice builds everything. It builds strength, patience, vision, and discipline. It creates distance between the one who endures and the one who indulges. And when the distance is finally visible, when success can no longer be denied, it will look like it appeared in a single night. But the truth is written in every sacrifice made along the way. Failure is the shadow that follows every ambitious step. Most men fear it, curse it, and retreat at its first appearance. They take failure as final, as proof that their effort was wasted. But failure is not the end. It is the teacher, the forge, the necessary resistance without which no true strength is built. Every story of lasting success carries within it countless failures buried beneath the surface. The crowd never sees them. They only see the final outcome and call it sudden victory. They never realize that the victory was only possible because of the failures that came before it. Setbacks are inevitable. No man can build anything of worth without meeting resistance. Competitors will strike, markets will collapse, allies will betray, and plans will unravel. To the weak, these blows are unbearable. They collapse under the weight of disappointment and never rise again. To the strong, each blow is data, each collapse a lesson, each betrayal a test of endurance. They do not cling to the illusion of ease. They understand that every loss, if studied with patience, becomes an instruction manual for future triumph. Imagine a stonecutter striking a rock. 99 blows show no change. The crowd laughs at his persistence, mocks his wasted effort, and calls him foolish. But on the 100th strike, the rock splits. The crowd gasps at the miracle. Yet the stonecutter knows it was not the final blow that did it, but all the ones that came before. Success is the same. Every failure is a strike at the rock. It appears wasted, but each one weakens the obstacle until finally it breaks. The world sees only the last strike and calls it overnight success. They ignore the 99 failures that made it inevitable. Resilience is the dividing line. Failure is not rare, it comes to all. The difference is that most let it bury them while a few let it build them. The resilient man treats each setback as material for construction. He studies his losses, adapts his strategy, strengthens his discipline. Each failure adds another layer of armor, another level of wisdom, another reserve of patience. By the time fortune finally arrives, he is so seasoned by struggle that nothing can shake him. The crowd calls it luck, but it is resilience refined into mastery. Failure humbles ambition. It strips away arrogance and exposes weakness. Most resist this exposure and run from it, but the wise embrace it. They allow failure to reveal where they must grow, where their vision was clouded, where their preparation was thin. In doing so, they transform failure from a curse into a compass. Every setback becomes direction. Every loss becomes instruction. Without these lessons, success would be shallow and fleeting. With them, success becomes inevitable. The myth of overnight success is especially cruel in this regard. It makes men believe that the path is smooth, that true greatness arrives without scars. And so, when they meet failure, they assume they are not destined for success. They abandon their efforts and resign themselves to mediocrity. But the truth is the opposite. Failure is the proof that you are on the path. No one ever built anything of worth without carrying the weight of losses. What separates the enduring from the forgotten is not the absence of failure, but the refusal to surrender to it. Think of the merchant whose ship sinks in a storm. He can curse the sea, mourn the loss, and withdraw from trade forever. or he can study the waves, strengthen his vessels, and send another ship. The first man sees only tragedy, the second sees tuition. Years later, when his fleet rules the waters, the crowd will say he was fortunate, that success came suddenly, but every broken mast, every drowned cargo, every storm survived was the foundation of his empire. Resilience is not born in comfort but in crisis. The calm seas teach nothing, it is the storms that reveal the captain, and so it is with life. The easy years build no strength, but the years of resistance build unshakable resolve. Those who curse their struggles curse the very thing that would have made them strong. Those who embrace them emerge with a power that others cannot fathom, and when their time comes, their rise seems supernatural, when in truth, it was the most natural result of persistence. Failure is never final unless you decide it is. Every empire, every fortune, every legacy rests on the ashes of past defeats. What matters is whether the fire of failure consumes you or refines you. Most let it consume them. They believe the myth that success must be quick and effortless. They stumble once and decide they are finished. The few who rise again after every fall, who treat failure as teacher rather than executioner, are the ones who one day stand in positions others call unreachable. So let the crowd continue to believe in sudden fortune. Let them imagine that greatness comes without scars. The truth is harsher but far more empowering. Overnight success is built on years of failure endured and overcome. Every defeat carries the seed of resilience. Every loss plants the root of wisdom. And when the harvest finally comes, when the rock finally splits, the world will call it instant. But the one who endured will know that each failure was part of the process, each setback a stepping stone, each scar a signature of strength.
Control is the illusion most men cling to, and it is the very thing that keeps them weak. They believe they can bend every circumstance to their will, that the world should move according to their desires, that fortune should obey their demands. And when life refuses, they crumble. They waste their strength fighting battles they cannot win, mourning outcomes they cannot change, and clutching at expectations that were never theirs to command. The truth is that mastery does not come from controlling the world, it comes from mastering oneself. The man who learns to let go of what he cannot control becomes untouchable. Suffering often grows not from what happens, but from the refusal to accept what happens. A lost deal, a betrayal, a collapse in markets, these things arrive whether welcomed or not. To fight against their reality is to exhaust yourself in futility. But to accept them, to adapt, to redirect your energy toward what can still be shaped, this is the mark of strength. The world calls it coldness, but it is clarity. The one who wastes no energy on the immovable has all his strength reserved for the things that truly matter. Picture a river flowing toward the sea. Rocks stand in its way, yet the water does not curse them, does not demand they move. It flows around them, over them, wearing them down slowly. The river wastes nothing on resistance. It adapts, it continues, it never stops. This is how power is built. The man who insists on forcing obstacles to vanish will remain forever trapped. The one who flows forward, adapting, redirecting, enduring, becomes unstoppable. His progress may appear slow at first, but in time the river carves valleys, reshapes landscapes, and reaches its destination without fail. Letting go is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. Weakness is found in clinging to illusions, in demanding control over the uncontrollable, in raging against reality. Strength is found in recognizing what can be changed and what cannot, in releasing the rest, and in directing full attention to the sphere of true influence. Those who live by this principle are not shaken when circumstances shift. They bend like the reed in the storm, while others break like the rigid oak. When the storm passes, the reed still stands and the oak lies shattered. The myth of overnight success blinds people to this truth as well. They see only the outcome, not the countless disappointments released along the way. They imagine fortune came because everything went according to plan, when in reality fortune came because plans failed, expectations collapsed, and still the builder endured. He adapted instead of resisting. He let go of what could not be controlled and moved with what remained. Success appears sudden, but it is only the accumulation of endless adjustments, of patience stretched across years, of clarity that refuses to be clouded by disappointment. Control of the mind is greater than control of events. A man cannot dictate the winds, but he can adjust his sails. He cannot command the storms, but he can prepare his vessel. He cannot prevent loss, but he can govern his response. And in that response lies power greater than any false sense of control. Most men never learn this. They waste themselves demanding certainty, demanding guarantees, demanding outcomes. The few who master themselves walk calmly through chaos, and the world mistakes them for favored by fortune. Consider the gambler who chases losses, unable to release what is gone. He throws good money after bad, clinging to the hope of undoing the past. His ruin is certain, not because of the loss itself, but because he could not let go.
Contrast him with the merchant who loses a ship but does not dwell on the waves that claimed it. He turns to the next, strengthens his fleet, and continues. His fortune grows not because he escaped loss, but because he refused to chain himself to it. The ability to release is the ability to endure. Most people resist reality, and in their resistance they suffer twice, once from the event itself, and again from their refusal to accept it. The disciplined suffer once, and then they move on. This is why they seem immune to setbacks, why they appear unshaken by disappointments. It is not that misfortune spares them, it is that they waste no strength fighting against the inevitable. They flow like the river, adapt like the reed, endure like stone, and in time this endurance transforms into a presence so strong that nothing appears to touch them. Letting go is the final form of discipline. It is the recognition that not everything belongs to you, that not every outcome can be bent, that not every expectation deserves your energy. When you learn to release, you learn to conserve strength for what truly matters, and when you master this art, the world cannot bind you with fear, cannot break you with disappointment, cannot sway you with temporary storms. The crowd will marvel at your calmness, at your composure, at your seeming invincibility. They will call it luck, destiny, or mystery. But it is none of these. It is the simple, unshakable truth. You no longer fight for control of the world, you command only yourself, and in the end that is the only control that ever mattered. Silence unsettles people more than words ever can. In a world that worships noise, where men rush to speak, to argue, to explain themselves, silence is power. The impatient fill every gap with chatter, exposing their doubts, their desires, their weaknesses. The disciplined man holds his tongue, he waits, he listens, he observes. His restraint draws others in, forces them to reveal themselves, and gives him control without lifting a finger. When he finally does speak, his words strike with weight, because they are rare, deliberate, and measured. Most believe influence is gained by volume, by constant declaration, by persuading the crowd with endless speech. Yet the most powerful figures are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who understand that silence commands more respect than noise. Words can be argued with, dismissed, contradicted. Silence cannot. It lingers, it unsettles, it creates mystery. Men fear what they cannot read, and silence conceals what they most desire to know. Consider a negotiation. One side presents an offer and waits for a reaction. The weak rush to answer, afraid of the pause, desperate to fill the air. The strong remain silent. The pause stretches, tension builds, and the other side begins to doubt their own position. They speak again, offering more, adjusting terms, lowering demands. Silence has done the work. The outcome looks like skill, but it was nothing more than patience, restraint, and control of the urge to speak too soon. Silence is also protection. Every word spoken is a piece of yourself revealed. The world is full of ears, eager to twist your words, to use them against you, to measure you by them. The more you talk, the more ammunition you give away. The man who guards his speech guards his power. He does not waste time defending himself from attacks he never provoked with careless words. He does not scatter his vision into the noise of chatter. He moves quietly, leaving others guessing, and in that guessing he gains advantage. The myth of overnight success persists because those who truly build in silence are invisible until the moment their work is undeniable. They do not announce their plans, they do not seek applause, they do not waste time convincing others of their vision. They act, and when results appear, the world is caught off guard. They call it sudden, when in truth it was silence that hid the years of effort. Silence shielded the building, and silence amplified the unveiling. Noise seeks validation, silence needs none. The man who explains himself constantly is chained to the opinions of others. The man who remains silent is free. He does not beg to be understood, he understands himself. He does not seek to convince, he simply proves through results. Silence is independence from the crowd, and independence is the seed of true power. Think of the general preparing for battle. The loud commander boasts of his strategy, leaks his movements, feeds his ego with grand speeches. The wise commander moves in silence. His enemy cannot predict his steps, cannot counter his moves, cannot prepare for what they cannot see. Victory appears sudden, overwhelming, decisive, yet it was only silence guarding preparation until the moment of execution. Most men fear silence because it forces them to face themselves. They drown in noise, in constant distraction, in endless explanation, because they cannot sit with their own thoughts. But the disciplined man embraces silence. He uses it to think deeply, to sharpen his vision, to weigh his decisions. In silence he gains clarity, and with clarity comes strength. The world sees only the result, but the result was born in quiet hours no one witnessed. There is also strength in refusing to answer insults, criticisms, and provocations. Most people react instantly, defending themselves, arguing back, giving power to the one who attacked them. But when you remain silent, you deny them what they seek. Their words echo back upon themselves, unanswered, and they are left unsettled. Silence robs them of power.
It shows that their opinion is too small to deserve your response, and this indifference commands more respect than any argument ever could. In the end, silence is not the absence of speech, it is the mastery of it. It is knowing when words are unnecessary, when restraint speaks louder than declaration, when quiet composure unsettles more than anger. Those who master silence are never rushed, never exposed, never forced to play by another's rules. They move unseen, they build unnoticed, and when the time comes, they reveal results so powerful that the world can no longer ignore them. The crowd will marvel, calling it sudden success. They will whisper of luck, of secrets, of hidden advantages. They will never understand that the secret was silence, that what they now see was years of work hidden from view, guarded by discipline, unveiled only when complete. Silence built the mystery, silence concealed the effort, silence magnified the outcome, and so the one who mastered it stands untouchable, respected not for what he said, but for what he withheld.
Calmness is the fortress that protects power. Without it, even the most talented man crumbles when pressure rises. Success is not secured by the loudest voice or the fastest hand, but by the one who remains steady when everything around him shakes. The world will always test resolve, through crises, through failures, through unexpected storms. Most men collapse under this weight because they never trained their minds to remain calm. They let fear dictate their actions, anger cloud their judgment, and doubt paralyze their steps. The few who master calmness, however, move through chaos as if untouched, and their composure becomes their greatest weapon. The crowd mistakes calmness for luck, imagining that those who remain composed are spared from hardship. But hardship spares no one. The difference is that composure turns storms into opportunities, while panic turns them into prisons. When markets fall, the fearful sell everything, destroying themselves. The calm man studies, waits, and seizes what panic made cheap. When rivals lash out, the emotional retaliate and weaken themselves. The calm man observes in silence, letting his rival burn out his own strength. Calmness transforms chaos into advantage. Imagine a battlefield where dust clouds the air and confusion reigns. Soldiers panic, shouting orders no one can follow, scattering in every direction. In the center stands one figure who does not rush, who does not shout, who simply observes and directs with clarity. His presence alone steadies the men, because calmness radiates power. It says, "There is nothing here that can shake me." That presence cannot be faked, it must be trained, and once trained, it becomes the anchor others cling to when the world trembles. Calmness is not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it. Anger, fear, and doubt still appear, but they are acknowledged and released, not obeyed. Weak men are slaves to their emotions. They act on every impulse, like leaves blown by the wind. Strong men harness their emotions, choosing when to act and when to remain still. They are like mountains, unmoved by storms, still, steady, immovable. To others, it seems inhuman, almost supernatural. In reality, it is discipline practiced daily until composure becomes instinct. The myth of overnight success hides this truth. People believe those who rise quickly must have had a smoother path, fewer challenges, fewer obstacles. The truth is the opposite. They faced storms like everyone else but refused to be broken by them. They trained their minds so thoroughly that chaos did not paralyze them, and when the world collapsed in fear, they advanced calmly. The crowd saw only the sudden rise and called it luck, but the rise was built on years of practicing calmness under pressure. Training the mind requires deliberate practice. Just as the body grows stronger through resistance, the mind grows stronger through challenges. Each time you choose silence over anger, patience over panic, clarity over confusion, you forge strength. Each time you pause before reacting, you reinforce discipline. These small moments may feel insignificant, but they are the training ground for the great storms ahead. When the day of true crisis arrives, the man who practiced calmness daily will remain unshaken while others collapse. Think of the merchant who loses everything in a single collapse. His wealth gone, his ventures destroyed, his reputation mocked. Most men in his place would drown in despair, unable to rise again. But the one who has trained his mind to remain calm does not cling to the loss. He accepts, he studies, He adapts and he rebuilds, and when he returns stronger, the world calls it miraculous, sudden, overnight. But it was only calmness that allowed him to act with clarity while others froze in despair. Calmness is also the shield against provocation. The weak are baited into conflict with insults and criticism. They defend, they argue, they waste energy proving themselves. The strong do not react. Their silence unsettles the attacker more than words ever could. This restraint is not passivity but strategy. It is the understanding that to remain unbothered is to hold control, and control, once mastered, multiplies influence without effort. Most people believe control comes from dominating others. In truth, control comes from mastering oneself. A man who cannot control his emotions, who erupts in anger or trembles in fear, is already defeated, no matter how powerful he appears. The one who governs his mind commands every situation. His calmness influences more than threats ever could. His presence shifts the room before he even speaks. That is true power, the kind that cannot be shaken because it comes from within. And so, when the world looks at the man who rose seemingly overnight, they will never see the countless moments where he chose calmness over chaos, discipline over impulse, patience over fear. They will never see the years of training that made composure second nature. They will only see the result, a man unshaken by storms, a presence that commands respect, a success that appears sudden and mysterious. But the truth is clear. The mystery was calmness practiced daily until it became invincible. Real power moves quietly. It does not announce itself. It does not beg for recognition. It does not scatter its energy in explanation. It builds in silence until the moment of unveiling, when the results are so undeniable that words are unnecessary. The loud crave attention, revealing their intentions, feeding their vanity, and exposing their weaknesses. The disciplined do not waste breath. They let progress whisper until the outcome roars. The crowd calls it overnight success, because they never heard the sound of the building. Every empire that endured was built in silence long before it was revealed in grandeur. The foundations were laid when no one was watching, the sacrifices made without applause, the discipline practiced without audience. To speak of it constantly would have weakened it, invited resistance, exposed it to doubt. Silence protected it, nurtured it, and gave it strength. When the work was ready, it revealed itself, not with promises, but with proof. No declaration was needed. The world simply opened its eyes one day, and could not ignore what stood before it. Most men cannot resist the urge to speak. They want approval, validation, acknowledgement. They announce every intention, seek credit for every step, crave recognition long before it is earned. In doing so, they drain their own strength. They invite the scrutiny of doubters, the sabotage of rivals, the pressure of expectations. Their noise weakens. Their need to be seen ensures they are never truly powerful. Power grows best in silence. Silence is strategy. When others know nothing of your plans, they cannot prepare against them. When others doubt your ability, they leave you free to build without interfering. When others underestimate you, they give you space to advance unnoticed. And then, when the time comes, they are unprepared for what you reveal. This is why the greatest movements in history appeared sudden, why the world mistook them for miracles. They were not miracles. They were the result of silence guarding progress until progress became too large to hide. The myth of overnight success endures because people only notice when results are undeniable. They did not see the years of work done without attention, the failures endured without complaint, the patience practiced without praise. They only see the moment of unveiling, and since they cannot comprehend silence, they invent a story of sudden fortune. It comforts them to believe it was luck, because then they need not face their own lack of discipline. But those who know the truth understand. The silence was the work, the unveiling was only the echo. To master silence is to master presence. The one who does not reveal himself becomes a mystery, and mystery commands respect. People lean closer, wonder more, imagine greater strength than may even exist. In silence you gain leverage without lifting a finger. In silence you let others speak themselves into weakness, while you remain unshaken. In silence you conserve energy, sharpen vision, and act with precision. The man who moves silently is never hurried, never exposed,
never forced. He dictates the game by refusing to play it loudly. Results are the only voice that cannot be denied. Words can be doubted. Promises can be mocked. Intentions can be dismissed. Results silence every critic. They end every debate. They are the language the world must respect. This is why silence paired with action is unstoppable. You say nothing, reveal nothing, promise nothing, yet you deliver everything. And when the delivery comes, it is too late for rivals to counter it, too late for doubters to deny it, too late for envy to undo it. The work speaks, and it speaks louder than any declaration. The one who understands this no longer wastes time chasing validation. He no longer seeks applause from those who cannot comprehend his vision. He no longer explains himself to those who have already chosen not to believe. He simply acts. Each day, another brick, another sacrifice, another patient decision. And one day, when the silence has grown heavy with progress, the world sees the structure standing tall, and it is forced to recognize it. To the crowd, it looks like the work of a single night. To the builder, it is the revelation of years. In the end, the truth about overnight success is simple. It does not exist. There is only silence, discipline, patience, failure, resilience, and sacrifice. There is only the slow accumulation of choices that no one sees, building strength that no one notices, until one day, the weight of it all becomes visible at once. The world mistakes the unveiling for the creation, but the creation was always there, hidden in silence. So let others chase noise. Let them announce, boast, and demand attention. Let them crave recognition before they have earned it. Their noise will fade. Their promises will fail. Their weakness will be revealed. Choose instead to move in silence. Build when no one watches. Sacrifice when no one applauds. Endure when no one believes. Guard your vision with quiet discipline until it is ready to reveal itself. And when it does, it will stand so tall, so undeniable, that the world will call it overnight success. But you will know the truth, that silence was your ally, patience was your shield, discipline was your weapon, and time was your witness. And in that truth lies the greatest power of all, the ability to rise without asking, to succeed without noise, to dominate without explanation. That is the only kind of success that lasts, and the only kind of success worth having.